Guy on Twitter tweets that they should have a scaling system for legendary drops because casuals think it's too difficult. Is the TLDR of the tweet? I don't know who tweeted it, but basically his argument was since it's too hard for you guys to get legendary drops, we increase it every time you kill the boss by 5%. So a base drop rate of say this legendary right here is 5%. Every time you kill the boss, it goes up by 5%, meaning that you would only have to farm the boss 20, was it 20 times? Actually 20 times. 25 times. Something like that to get this weapon to drop at least once. Now, that wouldn't be perfect parts or anything. This wouldn't have like anointments or anything like that. It would just be a guaranteed drop of the weapon, and when the weapon drops, so whether it be on your first try or your 10th try, whatever, it does guarantee that it drops by your 20th try. And if it drops on your first or your 10th, it then resets to 5%. So on your 10th, you have a 50% chance of it dropping. It drops whenever it drops. Not if you pick it up. Whenever the boss drops it. When it leaves his body, when you kill that boss, it now resets to a 5% chance. And I said if they did any kind of system like that, it should be a system where it's like Pokemon, how you have a 1 in 500 chance of getting a legendary, or not a legendary, sorry. Like Pokemon Go is like 1 in 500 for a shiny, and then the base series games are like 1 in 1,000 with a shiny charm, or 1 in 5, maybe it's 1 in 500 with a shiny charm, but 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 500 to get that shiny that you're trying to get. And then arguing that it should be more like that, and by the 500th or 1,000th, whatever we want to go with, it would drop on that one if it hadn't dropped before. So it doesn't have an increased chance. Just by the 500th chance, if you still haven't gotten one, it's guaranteed to drop. Or maybe every 500 boss clears, it will drop one. So like maybe you get 3 in the 500 clears you do for the boss. On the 500th one, it's a guaranteed drop. And maybe it can drop twice because it's his base loot pool, and then the 500th drop is like its own thing, or 500th kill is like its own thing. So every 500 kills is a guaranteed drop, and then you just have that 1 in 500 chance in between them. Cobalt in the chat says, "Don't think they should have it. Maybe an in-game currency hard, maybe a in-game currency harder to get than iridium that you can spend to randomize parts, or let it just cost a lot of iridium." So I didn't hate anointments on weapons, but I did hate the fact that when I got anointments and they were for other characters or for stuff I didn't use. What I would like to see, talking about the randomized parts, is I think Borderlands 3 has this now. Now that I think about it, I'll check when I get home. I think it has something like this, but I would like to randomize anointments, like change the anointment. I don't want to like, or not even just the anointment. So like on this specific weapon, I don't know if I'm not familiar with this legendary. I'm not sure if it always drops with that melee damage increase and that weapon zoom and that magazine. I don't know anything about this weapon, but I want to be able to randomize each part and just make it more expensive every time that I do it. Kind of like how in Minecraft you can constantly um, repair your gear and it gets more and more expensive. I want that. I want to be able to change just the barrel and it costs this amount to randomize. I don't want to be able to buy the part that I want. I want it to randomize. That way, if I get the gun to drop, if I want to farm the currency, I can sit there and re-roll the barrel, and maybe it's a 5 out of 5. It's got the perfect parts, but maybe I get a 0 out of 5. And then I sit there and re-roll every single part until I get it, and it's cost me thousands and thousands of iridium to get it perfect. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with randomizing the perks that it gets on it, like the bonus melee damage, the anointment. If perks aren't randomized, I'm fine with randomized perks and letting me re-roll those. I'm fine with letting me re-roll um, anointments. I'm okay with a focusing system. I think it does let you randomize anointments, but I want to randomize anointments. I want to be able to randomize individual parts. So I don't want to randomize the entire weapons set of parts in one purchase. I want to be able to randomize each individual part. I know this game doesn't have a shit ton of manufacturers, but I'm fine if we make variations of the ones that are currently there. So like say this grip right here is whatever company. There's 5 for these company, and they all do the same thing. They all increase your ADS speed by 5 by a percentage. But the worst version increases it by 1%, the best version increases it by like 10%. So like a scaled version. And you can tell by like the wear of the weapon, something to the effect that it'll tell you, or even if it's like you got the Vladoff grip Mark IV, which is the best version, or the Mark I's the best version, however you want to look at it, barrel scope, etc. So that's something I would like to see, is that I can randomize individual parts, not the entire weapon, because I would hate to have a 4 out of 5 roll it and then get a 0 out of 5. Another thing I would like to see is the focusing. So this wouldn't be for the parts necessarily. This would be, I mean, I guess it could be. You could like pledge your allegiance to a company, and then you would have a higher chance of that company dropping, but it costs money to pledge allegiance to those companies, and it costs a lot of money. So like, if you just want this one flat off part, the best way to do it is to pledge allegiance, but it's expensive as fuck. So don't re-roll your other parts because you might get Vladoff on those. So you're gonna have to pledge allegiance to Vladoff, roll this until you get Vladoff, and then say you want the Jacobs stock. So then you have to go pledge allegiance to Jacobs, and then roll the shit out of this until you get Jacobs. So it becomes really expensive, or you can just farm, is basically the idea. And then anointments will just be a constant reroll that don't increase in price. And I would like to see it to where you could upgrade your anointments. So like your anointment is, like in Borderlands 3 you have Zane who has the Digiclone bonus, and it's like, here's the Digiclone bonus, increases Digiclone self-destruct damage by 200%. I would like to have a Digiclone, 2, or Digiclone 2.0, or Mark II, whatever, which basically is like, okay, it now goes from 200 damage to 225%, 210%. I don't care how small the difference is. If I can upgrade it, that's nice. So a reroll system for anointments, and then a way to upgrade it. You can pledge allegiance to companies to get parts that you want to make it easier, but it's incredibly expensive. The more you reroll, the more expensive it is. So like early game, it would be cheaper to just reroll until you hope you get something than to pledge allegiance to a company because it's so expensive to pledge allegiance. I think it should be dumb. They can make that happen. Borderlands 3 already has a loyalty program. When you use a weapon, when you use weapons, the faction will send you more of their weapons. Exactly. And that would also be like a good thing. Like you can increase your reputation with these companies, and then they can also send you weapons, or maybe they can send you free parts that you can put on a weapon once you hit like really high levels. So it's like, once you hit Vladoff 100, you get a grip. 200, you get this, and just make it scale infinitely. Let someone join my game that has a 7,000 Jacobs leveling because they're incredibly sweaty. That's fine. Who cares? Let players grind these numbers because the bigger the number goes, the happier a gamer is. We have monkey brain mentality. Big number make monkey happy. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's great. I think that would work well with this. When you pledge when you pledge a faction, you lose all progress with others. That would work with the story because of the corporation wars. I mean, you could. I think that's fine. I I'm fine with your progress being lost, but I still think that you should have a lifetime number that other players can see, or somewhere you can see, because players hate it whenever they lose that number on their screen. Or maybe for you to change factions, you have to scoreboards. That's a good point. uh maybe to change factions you have to almost like prestige. So once you hit 100 you can reset, and then whenever you reset you can choose to pledge allegiance to a different faction. So if you have Jacobs, you know, your little tag under your name would say Jacobs tier you know, 100, or Jacobs rank 100 level, you know, 500, whatever. Have like a tier system or something, like a prestige to reset. So if you want that part on that weapon, you can pledge allegiance, but now you have to sit there through 100 levels of that corporation, or however many. Let's not make it too much. We don't want to punish the players, right? And I think that's a good system. Scoreboard's also a really good system. Like who has the highest Jacobs score, lifetime score. I think that's a good idea. And then the only other thing that I want to mention here is focusing. So I would like to see a focusing system that kind of helps you in one way or another. So similar to how Destiny you can like attune to a weapon in Onslaught, it increases that weapon's chances of dropping by 60%. I don't necessarily want to see that, but I want to see focusing, not where Destiny does it like 60% chance increase of this weapon drop, or 60% increase of if you get a onslaught weapon, it's this weapon. Because I don't want Borderlands to have a world pool, because world pools mean people are going to farm the easiest boss to get the best loot. And then if I tune the best weapon for the weakest boss, it just seems like that's a shit idea. So, what I would like to see is focusing for either companies, which would be paired to the faction program, or focusing to weapon type. So, like how this is a sniper, I could focus to snipers. So, any boss I kill has, like, say, a 2 times chance of dropping the sniper over the other weapons. So all the weapons have like a 1% chance or 2% chance. Well, now the sniper has a 4% chance of dropping for me if something drops. Or maybe it's just if something drops, it's guaranteed to be the style of weapon that you want. So, oh, I didn't check to see what level I need to be for this. I bet you I need to be like a 21. System, I know you need to die. You know, like I said, you could focus this one kind of weapon, and maybe the boss just has a 2% chance of dropping a legendary, right? And then that legendary can be anything that's in his specific pool. But if I focus to, say, snipers, or if it's connected to the pledging to a faction, I focus Jacobs, it's guaranteed to be the Jacobs weapon in his loot pool, or guaranteed to be the sniper rifle in his loot pool. That is something that I would like to see. But like, give players the ability to grind out a big ass number. They love that shit. So pledging allegiance is fantastic. Yep. Whatever you say, Goliath. I'm gonna let my kill skill come back. Do you like the idea of a focusing thing, or do you want it to be? I'm on a ladder. Or do you want it to be like purely chance whenever something drops? As long as it's not made too easy. People need to work for it, or it means nothing. 1,000%. Exactly, yeah. Because like if you don't work for it, it's valueless. It's not valuable at all. And also, I love how in this game, trading is so acceptable, because in other games people are like, oh, trading's gonna ruin like the game economy. People are just gonna charge you money for stuff. The Borderlands community, are you kidding me? I killed him as soon as what even killed me? But the Borderlands community, like, they farm stuff and they get stuff to drop all the time, and they just hold on to it anyways. You know what I'm saying? So having systems like this where it's super grindy, you know, it's not gonna turn into something where people are gonna have to pay people to help them with stuff.